The Revolution Podcast, Episode 17. Nobody's Fault But Mine.
Hi, you're listening to Revolution Podcast. This is Maria Howell as Grace on Revolution.
Golden Spiral Media presents The Revolution Podcast. Want to shop the best selection at the best prices on techno gadgets, computer components, software, cameras, cell phones, appliances? Check out the amazing stuff from our friends at Newegg. We love Newegg because they have all the stuff we need, save us lots of money, and have amazing customer service. Go to goldenspiralmedia.com/Newegg today. Welcome back to the Revolution Podcast, everybody. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Jeremy.
How you doing, man?
Well, I'm about as alive as Monroe. So.
You're not wasting any time beating around
Dive
the bush
right into
tonight.
that sucker.
You're just owning up to it right out of the box, huh?
Just take it on the chin. My pride was a little spoiled last night, so.
You know what? We'll get into that, but I don't think that you have any reason for your pride to be hurt at all. I thought it was. I think you're fine. But anyway, you're wrong. I mean, let's not cover that up at all. You were wrong.
Right.
Wrong. You were.
Right.
Jeremy was wrong in his prediction about Monroe not living past the fall finale.
My prediction that he might not live past the first season is looking in doubt. I mean, he's got Blackhawks with miniguns and rocket pods. So.
Yeah. But, it's okay. He's the main bad guy. Death is only a matter of time. We just don't know how much time he has.
Yes. Time.
Each episode is an episode closer to that. So, hey, we're here talking about, as I mentioned in the intro, Nobody's Fault But Mine, and the fall finale, as I also just mentioned, for season 1 of Revolution. Not the season 1 finale. It will still be season 1 when it comes back to us in March. That nice 4-month break that we now find ourselves in. But Nobody's Fault But Mine was the name of the episode this week. Written by Monica Owusu-Breen and Matt Pitts. A lot of you will notice those names, particularly Monica from Fringe episodes, and she's also written at least one other episode of Revolution so far. So it's great to have her on board with this writing team, as I've mentioned before. And Jeremy, I'm excited to announce this. The director this week was Frederick E.O. Toye. I always say Toye. It might be Toy. It's T-O-Y-E. I don't know. I always like to add a little pizzazz to it. It's a Toye. You know what I mean? Is that okay? How would you pronounce it?
It's me, Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it okay to put the...
So we can talk like we're in Italy.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay. I see.
I don't know why I
Toye,
said that. They don't act like that at all.
They just eat pizza.
They do. So he was the director of this, and he's directed a lot of great Fringe episodes. Lost, I think you mentioned earlier as well, right? You were going through his because you weren't as familiar with him, but he is great. I am super excited to have him as part of the team over here at Revolution. It's just becoming a great cast of actors. I mean, it has been, but I mean, we're seeing them develop more and more each week, and the writers and directors that they're bringing into this as the show goes on. I'm just getting more excited every week. I'm loving the show more and more. Hopefully you guys are too. We're going to talk more about the episode in just a few minutes, but before, we're going to share a little bit of news with you. And actually, we have very little news to share with you tonight. Frankly, there's just not a whole lot to share, and I haven't had time this week to do a lot of digging around. I work retail. Jeremy does too. Specifically, I oversee our internet e-commerce department at my employer. So we've had a little thing called Black Friday and Cyber Monday that has kept me pretty occupied, working a little bit longer than normal and just taking a lot of my energy. So I haven't had a lot of time to pull up any news. Jeremy, I don't think you have either.
Actually, on the contrary.
Oh, have you? You didn't have it in the show notes.
I put something there. You'd read below the episodes.
All right. Well, lay it on us. I still don't see it.
I'm typing a bunch of text beside it, so it brings it to your attention.
Oh, okay.
I was just going through the NBC website like I do every Tuesday, just to make sure there's nothing I missed, and I noticed that they're up for the People's Choice Awards. They say cast your votes now. So if you go to NBC.com, you can vote for Revolution as your favorite show. So let's see if we can give them some kudos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about all I have for the news. It's not much, but I did see that.
It's more than what I had. I just wanted to remind everybody that Revolution is now off until March the 25th, and hopefully you won't forget about us in the meantime or the show. And we are working on some interviews. I've got 3 or 4 requests out right now. We mention this every week. We're always trying to get interviews. This time of year, honestly, with the holidays upon us, I don't know that we're going to have any success. We'll see. We'll find out. I'm hoping that if nothing pans out now, that things will start panning out, closer to it coming back in March. So, as I say every week, the best thing to do is stay connected with us on social media. Our Twitter is GSM Podcasts, like Golden Spiral Media Podcasts, with an S on the end. Follow us on Twitter over there, and then connect with us over on Facebook at facebook.com/Golden Spiral Media. Anytime we have anything new and exciting with any of our podcasts, we will make sure that you are aware of it through those outlets. And so that's the thing we recommend. Obviously, subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or whatever method you use to listen to the podcast. And that way, if we do an interview and you weren't aware of it via social media, if you're subscribed to the podcast, then it'll automatically download to your device or however you listen to the podcast, and so you won't miss out on it that way either. So that's what we are recommending that you guys do. And if you are over there on iTunes subscribing to us, or really wherever you listen to the podcast, if you give us a review or a rating, we would very, very much appreciate that. And we want to thank all those who have. We are still the top rated and the top ranked podcast for Revolution in iTunes, as far as I know. I haven't checked it in a few days, but we appreciate that. It means a lot. We really mean that.
Most definitely.
Yep. Anything else in the way of news that you want to talk about?
Nope.
Okay, I did want to mention New Media Expo. This will be the only time I mention it in this podcast. This will be the last podcast that we do for Revolution, although technically we'll have the feedback podcast that we're recording later tonight, but New Media Expo is coming up in January the 6th, 7th, and 8th in Las Vegas. I'll be leading a session there for tips and techniques to build a successful fan podcast. I'll have Jason from the Walking Dead podcast, as well as Jay and Jack from the Lost podcast and some other podcasts, of course, you know them from. We're going to be giving you our advice on how to start a successful fan podcast. There'll be lots of other great content there for bloggers, new media podcasters, you name it. So if those are interesting to you at all, we recommend that you join us out there in Las Vegas. If you can't make it, they have the virtual ticket, and even if you do go, the virtual ticket is fantastic. It's going to give you access to all of the sessions. Like for example, if you're going to be in New Media Expo, but there are 2 sessions happening at the same time, you can only be in one place. But the virtual ticket will give you those in audio or video form after the fact. So the virtual ticket is also the least expensive way to be a part of New Media Expo. So check that out. Go over to our website, which is goldenspiralmedia.com, and click on the New Media Expo banner. I take that back. I don't have it on the Golden Spiral Media website, I don't think.
Really?
Just in case. I know I have it over at the Fringe Podcast website, thefringepodcast.com. On the sidebar right there, there's a link for New Media Expo. If you click on that, it'll take you right over to the website where you can learn more about the event and how to attend either in person or virtually. It's a great, great event. I highly recommend it. So very excited to be a part of that again this year. All right, that's it for the news, I think, Jeremy, unless you've come up with anything else while I was babbling on about New Media Expo.
Nope.
All right, episode recap time. The episode begins with Team Miles taking refuge at the home of one of Miles' friends in Philadelphia. The group settles in for the night, and Miles leaves to scout out the town. Tom and a group of militiamen storm the house and take everyone captive. Charlie is reunited with her mom, but Charlie is not as happy to see Rachel as Danny was. Charlie has a lot of questions, but now isn't the time to ask them. Miles had a feeling that their cover would be blown, so he had actually gone to Tom's house and taken Julie captive. When Tom returns home, Miles uses her as leverage to have Tom free his group and Rachel and Danny. Tom frees Aaron and Nora. However, Rachel and her kids are being held captive at a power plant, and Tom can't help them. Miles locks Tom and Julia into a closet, and they head out to the power plant. Miles, Nora, and Aaron arrive and find a way to sneak in. Aaron stays behind with explosives in case things go bad. Charlie and Danny are put in a cell together while Rachel is taken out to work on the amplifier. Danny and Charlie escape their holding cell and try to rescue Rachel. The militia opens fire on them, and now everyone in the complex is on high alert. Rachel finishes the amplifier and, due to the distraction of gunfire, sees an opportunity to kill Sergeant Strausser. She doesn't succeed at first, but after a quick fight, she gets the upper hand and stabs him in the chest with a machete. Miles meets up with Danny and Charlie and helps them get away. He also meets up with Rachel, but before they can escape, Monroe shows up. Miles tells Rachel to escape while he stays behind to confront Monroe. Aaron blows a hole in the wall so they can all escape. In flashback, we see Miles and Monroe as boys playing and coming up with the idea of the Circle M symbol to represent both of their names. We see them later as adults. Monroe has just lost his entire family in an accident and is suicidal. Miles talks him out of it and reaffirms that he is family. Back in the present, they draw their guns to shoot each other, but neither of them can pull the trigger. Monroe puts his gun down and tells Miles that he forgives him and wants him back in the militia. Miles refuses and tells Monroe that Monroe is a different person. He regrets not killing him the last time, and he now has no regard for Monroe at all. They are not family. They draw their swords, and the fight is on. Both of them absorb some heavy hits, but Miles is clearly winning. Jeremy and a group of militia show up and open fire on Miles. He manages to avoid their gunfire and escape. He meets up with the rest of his team, but a new sound fills the air. Rachel left the amplifier on, and Monroe has used it to fire up one of his helicopters. It rises up out of the power plant and aims its high-caliber guns on Team Miles. They have nowhere to run. Alrighty, that is the episode recap. A little bit longer this week.
There was a lot to mention this week.
There was a lot, and by say, I mean maybe 45 seconds longer or so, but there was a lot. Even some stuff I didn't even mention. Like I said, the episode begins with them taking refuge at the guy's house, but really it began with the flashback with Miles and Monroe, talking about being pirates in the future.
Arg.
But anyway, that was a lot of good stuff to cover, which means we're going to do that right now with our episode discussion. Now, Jeremy.
Yes.
Just making sure you're still awake. Typically, you and I have lunch on Tuesdays, and we won't really go into a whole lot of detail about the episode because we like this podcast to kind of be our first discussion on the episode, but we'll kind of give a couple of highlights and some things that we want to talk about in more depth. But as I mentioned, with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we're still trying to recover from all of that, and frankly, I haven't had time for casual lunches this week. So you and I have not talked at all about Revolution until this moment right now.
No, I just saw you in the warehouse fleetingly, and that's about it.
I was on a bike going as fast as I could to go get a product that we were missing from an order. And but let me ask you, let me let you kick it off here. What do you think about the way the episode started, I guess, since we were just talking about that being really the way it started, not the way that the episode recapped it. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it just opens up with kind of a Firefly-esque scene there in the battle. It reminded me of Serenity Valley. But we find out that they have dreams of being pirates. You've already mentioned that. Fighting without bullets.
Who doesn't have a dream about being a pirate?
I have no idea. So they're going to fight with swords one day in the future.
Yes.
They kind of make a couple of references here and there, but one of the things that we do find out is that Miles is in debt to Monroe.
A little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that?
Well, I think it just helped. This episode did a great job of helping the viewer understand the full depth. And I said I pause a little bit to say the full depth because there could still be more that we don't realize.
Right.
But a much more deeper understanding of the relationship between these two guys.
Yeah.
And, when we understood them to be like family, we understood that when they left North Carolina, or was it South Carolina? I always forget where that base was that they were stationed at. Forgive me. I need to look that up. But you know what I mean. When they left, they went AWOL. He basically said that he was the only family they had. Well, we saw in this episode exactly why he was the only family.
Yeah.
The tragic story of Monroe losing his parents and his little sisters due to a drunk driver.
Right.
And so we just got a lot more depth. And that scene that from the very beginning was also another one of those when he refused to leave Miles.
Yeah.
He said that he does not run. And he refused to leave Miles.
Right. And it kind of played into when Tom mentions, hey, you might want to go to Boston.
Yeah. He says, I don't run.
I don't run. Yeah. So it was kind of, it played again into the episode. I like that. And I like that it actually showed us where their relationship is. And man, to be honest, for about 5 seconds in this episode, I was like, I don't want Monroe to die.
Well, I got to be honest with you. For about, 10 minutes, I don't know, however long it took between the flashback at the graves.
Yeah.
Until, I guess, between after their fight was over and Miles had to flee, I really thought Monroe was going to be dead by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Because he talked about how he was living kind of this reckless lifestyle. He didn't expect to live that long. He was the one that should be dead, not them. And I'm like, Jeremy's got it right.
I thought I did, and that's why I didn't want him to die. I was like, I'm so right, but I don't want him to die. And then, yeah, there he is at the end.
So you didn't want to be right?
For a moment, and I don't know. I like Monroe. I really do. But
I think he's a great villain.
Yeah. But villains, like you said, they come to an inevitable conclusion normally.
Yeah.
Not always, but so I don't know.
Well, it's just strange to me that you would be in appearance that close to being right on your theory, and yet you're glad that you weren't. I don't know. That's I would have been like, crap. I thought I was going to be right, and now I have to come in here and be wrong.
For many of you, our allegiances with football, and there was a football game on Saturday. I was screaming more at the TV on Monday night.
Okay.
To kill Monroe at Miles, like in that fight when he has the guns.
Yes.
I was just like, shoot him.
Yeah.
No. And they got into the sword fight. I thought, maybe he'll stab him, but I don't know. Once they got to the sword fight, I figured he's not going to be able to do it.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I've got this somewhere in the notes, but gosh, why not bring it up now since it's kind of part of the dialogue? What it did by keeping him alive, it just changed. I won't say it changed everything because there's still some of that we always thought was there, and that's that conflict between Miles and Monroe. But Kripke and J.J. Abrams this week teased that this episode was going to take everything that we thought we knew about the episode, and change it. And I thought it lived up to that hype. And this is one of those ways, because now we know that it took the relationship between Miles and Monroe, and we thought there was this chance of reconciliation.
Mm-hmm.
We thought there was this chance that Miles would defect back to the Monroe militia. You know what I mean? I don't know what the right terminology for that is. Because we saw it in his hallucination last week, and
right.
And boy, if Monroe didn't just tell him everything that he saw in that flashback last week, that hallucination. But at the end of the episode, the relationship between Miles and Monroe is completely different in terms of there's no friendliness there now. There's no thoughts of family there now. There is probably bitterness and anger and animosity, and it just took it up to a whole new level. They are now full arch enemies, where before there was a little bit of unsure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought that was fantastic.
I agree. I mean, it was great seeing their relationship fall apart completely. I mean, we got to see him say, "You're not my family anymore," which was powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about that. It was just great. And the only thing is when he says that, he had his gun down to his side. And I'm like, no, you should have said that and then shot him.
With the gun pointed at him still. That was a little bit weird. I got to be honest with you, that he said that he made a mistake.
And
and pulled the gun down. That's when you say, I made a mistake. You know?
Yeah.
Not killing you the first time. And then Monroe dies.
But this isn't a 1980s action flick with one-liners. So.
That's right.
But I do have a line.
Let off some steam.
I do have a line for Monroe.
Okay.
And it's from another show.
All right.
Everybody dies, Monroe. I'm putting Monroe in instead of a guy named Tracy.
Okay.
Someone's carrying a bullet for you right now. Doesn't even know it. The trick is, die of old age before it finds you. And
that's from an episode called The Message from Firefly.
Yeah. If
my memory serves correctly.
So it's just...
That's also where this little guy right here comes into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if you're not in the live show, pardon me, I just pointed to my Jane Cobb hat that I have in the studio here.
Right. I mean, he's just dodging every bullet that's thrown his way. He's just like Miles and Tom, apparently, and all the other heroes.
Yeah.
But, man, it's just... I don't know. I wanted him to die.
You did?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I...
And now that Miles doesn't like him, I'm ready for him to die more.
But now it's just a great, even a better dynamic than we had before, I think, between those two characters and some of the others.
Yeah.
But let's not skip too far here. Let's kind of keep working our way through the episode here. We learned that Monroe has a house in Boston. Is this going to come back into... There was a few things that just one-liners or just little pieces of lines that were handed to us in this episode that might come into play later on in the future. Do you think this might be one of them?
I do. I think we'll eventually go to Boston.
In the fall? It had to be said.
Yeah, well, they're shipping up to Boston at least.
That's right. The Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will or not. I see Boston could possibly come into play. I think we're going to get more of the United States, but I don't know if Boston's going to be one of them or not, because the Georgia Federation has been mentioned twice now with the conflict that's going on.
Right.
And in fact, in this episode, they said it was a few days away from being a full-on border war with the Georgia Federation. So I see us, if anything, moving farther south into that front than I would say going up to Boston.
It's true. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to see Boston March 25th. I think we might see Boston a year from now. I think it may be a part of a different storyline. To me, it sounds like a retreat position.
It does.
I think Monroe will run at some point.
Okay.
If he does not
and that'll
die,
be his stronghold.
Right.
Okay. I could go for that totally.
So I'm not sure about that, but that kind of feels where we're going.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be there long. I think it'll be a short stay, but I think it might be his last stand or something like that.
Okay. So if it turns out to be his last stand, then it could be, hopefully years before we get to that story. But that doesn't mean we won't see it a time or two before then.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, though, that it could come into play at some point. I mentioned the storyline with the Georgia Federation there. I could see that being where the story, one of the plots that we'll see even in the spring. I mean, the plot this time was, trying to rescue Danny, and there was all this other stuff happening alongside that.
Right.
And I could see that being one of the, I don't know if it'll be the A plot, the B plot, or even the C plot, but I could see the conflict with the Georgia Federation coming into play. I mentioned this last week. I want to see more of the world, and I don't necessarily mean international, although yes, I want to see that. But I mean this world that is this Revolution TV show. I want to see something more outside of just the Monroe militia and even this small group of people that we have. And part of that really is Grace and Randall and all that stuff that's going on too.
Yeah. So there's a ton that we really haven't even touched yet. We just scratched the surface. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to go. The spring story, I think that the choppers I think there'll probably be a...
Get to the chopper!
I wanted to say that, but I hesitated. So.
That's my second Arnold line today. And that one actually tied in. The Glass and Steam didn't, but,
but I think they'll use those against Georgia. I mean, we see that they have some form of rocket launcher. I don't know if that was a Stinger or not. Didn't really look, but they have anti-air capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how or where or why, but we know they have it. So I don't know how long the helicopters will last. And I believe I was corrected, and now that I think about the images, I think they're Hueys, not Blackhawks. I just have Blackhawks in my head.
I think they're Hueys. Do we have some feedback? It's actually from Jim in Wisconsin, who's going to be talking about the helicopter a little bit more.
All right, so I won't get too much into that.
He called them Hueys,
so.
yeah.
All right. But, no, so...
All
I
right.
forget where I was going with any of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you were going either, but let's move
Georgia,
on.
I think, is going to be a lower-end storyline, and then we're going to see more... I'm hoping we're going to see more Grace.
Oh, I do, too.
So,
I was a little disappointed we didn't get anything out of her or Randall in this episode. Not necessarily surprising with all that we did get in this episode. I don't know how they could have squeezed it in, but I want to know more about that plot line so much. I was a little disappointed we didn't get. I guess we got our cliffhanger on that, a couple weeks
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kip, the guy who was working for the militia. Actually, he was a ranking officer in the militia.
Yeah.
Is he alive now? Did they go ahead and kill him? And what do you think about that whole thing that we had there?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to him. I'm wondering if he's a sympathizer to just Miles and his friends, because he sounds like he's Miles' friend, not necessarily a sympathizer to any of the rebels or anything. So, but I thought it was kind of interesting that he didn't rat them out, that they just assumed, well, he was his friend, we're going to go there.
Yeah.
So, and Tom goes there and captures everybody. That was smart of him.
Yeah, it was well played on the part of Tom. It was extremely well played on the part of Miles to think ahead of what Tom would do, to deduce that they were there. Loved what Miles did with Julia.
I wish he would have followed through.
And killed her? Julia is such a great character. I don't want her dead.
That's right. I know, but...
And the Julia Tom dynamic out of this episode it kicked up a whole other level, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty tough, pretty resilient.
Sure. She's tougher than he is.
Yeah.
And he's pretty bad.
That's true. So, I mean, I think we have a lot to see with her, and I'm interested in seeing where she goes.
Yeah.
But now they're stuck in a closet, and I don't know. Do you think Monroe's going to find out that Tom helped?
Yeah. No, Monroe will find out what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he'll hold him completely to death accountable for a couple of reasons. The most obvious is we want Tom. We need Tom and Julia on the show.
Yeah.
So, and really, I mean, Monroe himself was bamboozled, if you will, by Miles. I mean, he got the best of him too. And so is he going to kill himself? You know what I mean? I mean, I just think that they are going to look at this and say, yeah, well, he got us all on this one.
Yeah.
He got everybody, but we got the pendant, and now we have the power to get back at him in other ways. And so he's going to want his guys. He knows that Tom's still loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
There's not any question of that in Monroe's mind. And really, I don't know that I'm doubting his loyalty anymore.
I don't know. Yeah. I think he has so many ways to go, and I think Julie's going to convince him.
Yeah?
Yeah. But
you think she's still... Well, she flat out mentioned that Monroe needed to go. So you think that's still going to be a development?
I think it will be.
Yeah, I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
It was such a big thing that they threw out there.
Yeah.
How is it going to get worked back in, though? Are they going to make us kind of forget about that and then bring it back in?
Probably.
Yeah.
It'll be
so too.
It'll be just like that.
It'll be the season finale, maybe?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Monroe might be dead by then.
There you go. You're gonna renew your theory there for another half season.
You can't be right if you don't try.
That's right. You gotta. I've told you this from the beginning. Throw a theory out there, and stick with it until it's proven wrong. Now, in this case, your theory was proven wrong, but it's not a bad theory.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, his days are numbered.
Yeah.
Now you can't just keep saying, well, okay. At some point you got to say, well,
yeah.
he's. But I still applaud you for the theory. You called it early on before anyone ever saw it coming, and it sure looked like you were going to be right there for a while. But anyway, we talked about that already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the interaction between Miles and Rachel, because I thought there were a couple of things here that were odd. One being when Charlie and Rachel were hiding out, I don't know, being held in that cell, and Rachel finds out that Miles is with them, and she asks, wants to know what Miles said, what her father said to her, and also if Miles has done anything to hurt her. And then when she sees Miles for the first time, she gave him a really nice slap. That wasn't just your everyday, TV slap. That was good.
It looked like a lover's slap to me.
It did to me too.
So, I think you broke her heart.
Man, that
cheating on your brother with his brother, cheating on your husband with his brother.
Yeah, that's like Jerry Springer type of stuff right there.
I wonder if there's another kid that they don't know about.
That's right. He is not the father. Oh man.
Yeah.
No, but I think I took it as a kind of a lover slap too, or that she'd been hurt by him in some way.
Yeah.
But why would she ask Charlie if he had hurt her? I mean, is he also a violent person? I mean, obviously he can fight, but there's a difference between being able to fight and then domestically abusing someone. In a lot of cases, there are. So what do you think on that?
I think as far as that goes, it was almost more. It felt to me like it was more of just a plot point, or not really even a plot point, rather just something that they threw out there to make you think that she thought he was dangerous. I didn't really feel that he was abusive per se towards her. I thought the reason she would ask that is just to keep the viewer intrigued. So that's all I thought that was even mentioned.
I thought that it was a matter of she has seen some of the things that Miles had done to people.
Yeah.
And wanted to see if he had done any of that to her.
Right.
That's kind of really as far as I see it on that. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. Now, Strausser, on the other hand, that dude is all kinds of messed up, isn't he?
He's got a hole in his chest now, so he's really messed up.
She likes to go for the heart, doesn't she?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I just dove right into that. Somebody died, and I was so glad.
Oh, man. I was so glad. We were all cheering in the chat room while we were watching the episode. We were all cheering when he died. He was a cool character, but I didn't mind seeing that guy dead. That guy deserved it.
He was pretty messed up. Yeah.
And, once again, you cross Mama Bear, right? You say something that vulgar to a mother about her daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. And all I had was, it's hammer time.
I said in the chat room that Strausser's about to get hammered.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hammer time. You can't touch this. So a guy that whatever, a guy that totally deserved to die, was a lot of satisfaction seeing his death. He did add a cool element to the show, but I don't think I'm going to miss him too much. There's so many other villains to kind of root against.
Yeah, there are. I mean, we have Monroe we're talking about, and then we have
Tom.
Randall.
Well,
I mean,
Randall's kind of a weird. We don't know how to fully feel about him yet.
Yeah, but
he might be a villain that turns out to not be a villain.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm not putting any bananas on that.
Okay. All right.
But I'm just saying, there's so much we don't know about his character. He may not be the guy that we think he is. He might be more the guy that we think he is too.
Fair.
But no, we've got Tom and we've got Monroe and there'll be some other guys. Even Jeremy is. I mean, he fights for the militia, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna be considered a villain at this point.
Yeah.
Anybody named Jeremy really has to be considered a villain.
I agree.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I'm always rooting for Rachel to be Darth Vader.
Okay, well let's talk about that a little bit, because do you trust her now? I mean, she was clearly trying to get I think she was clearly trying to kill Monroe. Good grief, Monroe, and rescue Danny, just like she told Charlie. She was trying to kill Monroe and rescue Danny, and it backfired. It didn't work out like she had planned. She made a mess of things. But just some of the weird questions that she was asking Charlie, and Charlie clearly doesn't trust her, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that Charlie didn't run up to her and give her a hug.
Me too. Tell you the truth, I'm on Charlie's side with that. I don't know if I trust Rachel yet.
I don't think I do either.
So,
and I'm very happy about that.
It felt a little too easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know that it felt too easy.
When she's in the cell with her, rather. I mean, not necessarily stabbing Strausser, but...
Okay. I thought you meant the escape as a whole.
Yeah.
And we will talk about the fact that she left the power amulet behind.
Yes.
We have some feedback on that, so I want to save that conversation for then. So tune into the feedback podcast, which will be episode 18. We will be talking about the fact that she left the pendant behind and all that went along with that scene. I still don't trust her. There's more than meets the eye with that, and that's what I love about this. We talked about Flynn, Randall just a minute ago. In my mind, it's still got some ambiguity about him. Some of the characters that had some ambiguity with their relationship with Miles and Monroe, to me now seem very defined what their position is regarding each other. And so the show is just continuing to just kind of mold and evolve, and it's just getting better each week, in my opinion. This was the best episode yet of the show.
Okay.
I will have no problems telling my friends, you need to check out Revolution and be caught up by the time March 25th comes around. I had someone on Twitter this morning say, be honest with me, is it really worth watching? And I said, absolutely. It did have a few hiccups along the way early on. And various people had various things that they considered hiccups. But, man, in my mind, there's no doubt that this show is really, really good right now.
Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable watch. My wife likes actually sitting down on the couch and watching it with me. And there are a few shows that we can both agree on. So
yeah,
I'm
feel
enjoying
the same
this
way
so
about
far.
the show. Yeah,
so
it's really finding itself.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. And Charlie, she's finding herself, and we find out her name is actually Charlotte.
Well, we had suspected that.
Yeah, it's just confirmed. I mean, it could be a lot, but I don't know. I'm just glad to know that.
Are you?
I am.
You can sleep better at night now?
I can.
Knowing that.
I slept soundly last night after knowing that.
I did too, but it was mostly because I didn't get to bed till about 1.
Oh, ouch.
Well, I had to finish, all the show prep and stuff. Sometimes it takes a little while. But yeah, so we had the conversation there between she and her mom. And then she said, her mom says, wow, you've grown up. And she says, well, it's a long trip.
Yeah.
That was more for the fans, wasn't it?
I think so.
I definitely think so. It was great, though. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I loved it. I mean, like I said, when it's in my mind, that was completely for the fans. And so it was almost like the show saying one of two things. It could be taken, I think, in one of two ways.
Yeah.
One was, we heard you. She's not whiny little brat anymore.
Right.
Or two was, she has grown up. We needed her to be this way at the beginning so that she could be this way now. And you could see the journey of Charlie Matheson.
Yeah. And I've said that from the beginning.
Right.
At least I think I have in my head. It's just, she had to be that annoying girl to become more of a hero. I mean, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me that she had to be that bad, but I think it will make us appreciate who she becomes.
Yeah.
And I am of the belief that they had that planned all along. So
I don't disagree with that. And frankly, I've said this all along. She has never bothered me as much as she has many of our listeners. I can see to some degree, things that bothered other listeners, but for me, she never really bothered me that much. But man, the character now is fantastic. The last couple of episodes, with what we talked about last week, she picked up the crossbow and went on. She knew that she couldn't take the time to grieve for Rachel. It wasn't Rachel. What was the girl's name that died last week?
Ashley.
Thank you. Just things like that. And this week, man, when she stood toe-to-toe with Strausser with that gun in her face and said, take me, man, that was a defining moment for her character and really does show the type of character. I mean like ethical character that this girl has, conviction, if you will. How much family does mean to her, and just how brave she is, how strong that was a great scene for that character.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. And you bring up family, and I'm just going to mention this. The way I felt about this whole episode is that it was the end of that storyline. We've seen a lot of family. We've harassed it. We've talked about it. But we've seen that brought up throughout this entire part of the show, first half of the first season.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I think essentially the valediction of that, the end of that, is you're not my family anymore. And that's Miles saying that to Monroe. And I think that is going to end the family talk.
Well, it very well may. I mean, we have the Matheson family. I
Together.
talked earlier about the dynamic that has really changed and become more defined now between Miles and Monroe. But that's the other dynamic that has really changed now. We now have the Mathesons, with Aaron and Nora, as this group of combatants now against the Monroe militia, and for the first time, all the Mathesons are together.
Yeah,
obviously, Dad is dead.
Right.
That's tragic, actually.
Right.
I like we mentioned last week. Ben and Charlie on screen together was fantastic. I want more of that. But
yeah, maybe she'll have more concussions. So.
Hey, I'm still holding out a little bit.
He's alive.
A little bit of hope that he actually survived, and at some point.
Until the credits roll on the final episode, I'll hope that.
That's right. We haven't really mentioned that since the pilot episode.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
think, but
because we're pretty sure he's dead. But
pretty sure, but
yeah. And hey, if they find that DeLorean,
time travel.
Yeah. So instead of the Hatfields and McCoys, we have the Mathesons and the Monroes.
We do.
All right.
The M. Both families having the letter M. I loved the flashback we saw. It was really cute with them as boys with the Crayola markers making the M on their arms. So it does stand for both of them. It's weird that though only apparently Monroe has it tattooed on him. We've never seen it on Miles.
Right.
In the pilot episode, it was only shown on Monroe. So that's a little bit weird. You think they would have I could see them as maybe getting drunk one night, or maybe not even getting drunk one night. Just, hey, it's legal for us to go get tattoos. Let's go get the M together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was cool to see. It does tie into.
And
both
they may have, but and maybe Miles lost his arm, so he had to have a.
He's got a fake robotic arm. Was he Nina Sharp now?
No, he's Luke Skywalker. Or
spoiler alert on
Anakin
Fringe:
Skywalker.
Nina Sharp has a robotic arm.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You learn that about halfway through the pilot, so it's not like it's a huge spoiler, all right?
Yeah.
What else is on here? I wrote this. I thought this was quite interesting. Apparently, Tom Neville is an Aaron Pittman fanboy.
I love your work. Yeah.
He's been on Wired Magazine all these times. He knew what he did and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's a little weird. Tom Neville's an Aaron Pittman fanboy.
Yeah, and you say fanboy. I mean, maybe he was more like a Steve Jobs kind of a guy. You're not necessarily his fanboy as much as you just see him everywhere.
That could be true. But he was noticing. I mean, I don't think that Aaron Pittman was as big as Steve Jobs was as far as,
Well,
the
I
name.
think he's our fictional guy. I mean, he's probably, I don't know. I think he's up there with the techies. I think he's supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, yes, he is supposed to be one of those guys. I just don't know if he's Steve Jobs is one of the most iconic guys ever. I mean, can you tell me the two guys that created Google?
To tell you the truth, no.
Yeah, you can't.
So
that's my point.
Yeah.
Is that
I could Google it.
you could Google it.
So
yeah, no. So that's what I'm saying. It's just down a little bit level. You have to really follow that niche to know who those guys are.
Yeah.
And to be able to recognize their appearances in different magazines and things like that. But
That's
no,
true.
you're right. He is supposed to be this somewhat well-known, iconic tech guy.
I'm surprised that nobody knew who he was except for Tom, though.
Yeah. It would have been great if he'd have been, like day one of the trek to, Philadelphia. He's like tagging along back behind going, You all, everybody. You all, everybody. Just waiting for people to go, I used to hate that band. We called them Suckshaft. Oh, man. But that's kind of what he reminds me of when you kind of put it in that context.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we had in that scene was what Tom said to him. Basically, you were the guy that was over all those people in those cubicles. I was in that cubicle. Now the shoe's on the other foot.
Right.
That was a pretty. That's what I'm saying with Tom. This episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he got pretty dark.
He did.
Yeah.
I mean, because there was no instigation there. Right.
Yeah, he was just being a bully, pretty much.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah.
So, which I think shows us how far he's progressed down that dark side.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit more than I thought he had, but I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder if Aaron was that kind of a boss. I think being as rich as he was, he probably had nothing to do with the guys in the cubicles, though. So it was just Tom taking out his.
But sticking it to the man.
Yeah.
What he saw is the man.
Yeah, the man. 15 years later.
Been waiting a long time.
Yeah,
it's been brewing.
He holds a grudge.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of, I mean, he's definitely, his final words to Miles was, and I loved what he said. You come into my house.
Yeah.
And you put your hands on my wife. You do realize I will kill you for this.
I'd have killed her right there. I'd have been like, okay.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, man.
You kill everybody on the, like we said before, you would have a mini series or a micro series.
I probably would.
All your characters would be dead.
There's an old flick with, what's Steven Seagal? He breaks everybody's neck. That's kind of, I don't know. But yeah, if he talks to me like that and I've got his wife like that, I just start drawing the sword. And if he shuts up, I stop. But if he keeps going, I just finish her and kill him. I don't know.
How many times have you killed Tom now? We've had 9 episodes.
I'm ready for this guy to just go.
You've killed him 4
I love the
times.
character, but he's so lucky. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness. You crack me up, dude.
I'm really not that violent. I just, I don't know.
There are opportunities to kill everyone that aren't taken, obviously. I mean,
but Tom just seems to get a little bit more lucky than others.
No. How lucky can you get? Charlie and Danny, machine gun fire being sprayed across the power plant. Miles is being fired upon at close range by automatic weapons, and he's able to parkour his way out of a window, right? I mean,
yeah.
Again, with this episode, with the only thing getting shot up is the walls.
Yeah, well, you've got the stormtroopers. They trained at the same place.
Exactly.
So, what really just kind of upset me is she'd never seen an AR-15 or whatever she's using. I'm assuming it's the actual military version.
Okay.
Not the civilian version. So, M4, M16, whatever that actual variant was. She picks it up. I don't know whether or not it's loaded. I mean,
you presume that it is.
Yeah, but she doesn't know how to load it, so I presume it's loaded. This guy is blind firing, spraying, hitting the walls. She pops out, snaps, just bop, takes the guy out. And I'm like, wait a second, that was really efficient.
Yes.
She's not that good. So,
well, no, we saw her with the arrow at the
yes,
bridge,
and she nailed that little bag from 100 yards away.
She's a great shot.
Apparently,
yeah.
She needs to be a sniper.
She's like Olivia Dunham.
Apparently,
Olivia, like the first 3 or 4 seasons, it was like one shot straight between the eyes. Although she had Cortex-Fan. Maybe that's it. Charlie has Cortex-Fan.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now you have an association with Fringe.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, man. Let's see. What else? We've already talked about Strausser a little bit. Do you want to add more to our note here?
No, I mean, not really.
Okay.
I don't want to bring that up.
And actually, we even already talked about the graveyard thing. Although you've got a good note here about the Harry Potter movie. This is not the first time we've seen Harry Potter brought up in the show.
Well, I wrote those notes, and now I have to think why I put Harry Potter there. But you have, I guess, Harry Potter's parents. They're dead. Man, I don't know. Is it like? I'm just gonna stutter through this. Harry Potter is family with all of the kids that he pretty much grew with, but it's just Did I put that there, or did you put there?
I didn't put it there. I've never. I thought you had something to tie in. Maybe you were just making a note of the Harry Potter reference.
Okay.
I don't know if you had more to say or not.
Yeah.
Like I said, and you can send me hate mail. I've never seen a Harry Potter movie. I've never read a Harry Potter book. I know very little about the story, so I'm not going to really be able to draw in any analogies that might correlate between the two pieces of work. I thought you might be able to.
Okay.
But apparently,
well,
not.
I think the main bad guy, his parents died too, so.
Is that right?
He was an orphan.
Okay.
So maybe that's where I was last night. I'm sorry, guys.
And that, I mean, yeah, Monroe is technically an orphan. I mean, even though he was an adult.
Right.
Maybe it ties in. I don't know. Guys, send us in feedback if you think there's more there. It could just be another. Well, I don't know. I was going to say it could be just another piece they're drawing inspiration from, but if they are, which it seems that they are, what elements are they bringing in there? Because like I said, I know nothing about Harry Potter. Chat room's telling me I must read it. Probably not going to. I don't see myself ever reading it. There's other projects I will get to before.
Just
Harry
read
Potter.
the last book and you'll have the whole story.
Okay.
Sorry, I just made everybody.
Can
who
I
likes
just
Harry
watch
Potter
the movie?
mad, so. I like the book better.
Yeah, I can't invest that type of time to read the book series that big, but I could watch the movies maybe. Anyway, we're getting derailed here. Oh, you got something?
Monroe's family was killed on the way to watch Harry Potter.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
so
you
that's
didn't
why I
what
put
the Harry
that.
Potter reference was?
No, I put that there and I completely
I
forgot.
assumed you were remembering what the actual reference was.
Well, I had the reference there, so I would remember, but apparently it didn't help. So.
Yeah, they were killed while going to watch the Harry Potter movie.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there was a bit of irony, but I don't know.
So maybe that was it. He became an orphan while they were going to a movie where there's an orphan.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Sounds good.
All right, I've got just a couple of notes here left. The fight scene, this was one of the better fight scenes that we have seen in this show, and we've seen some pretty good fight scenes, I think. The pilot, I think, was the best fight scene up to this point when we see Miles take on, the 15 or so bad guys, 20, whatever it was. This one here between Monroe and Miles, I thought was good. I would have liked to have seen it gone on a little bit longer to be a little bit more epic, but it definitely left you wanting more, which kind of builds into the new dynamic between the two characters. So I liked that part of it.
Yeah, and I think one of them will eventually get the high ground and throw the other into a lava pit. But we'll see about that exactly. But
he didn't throw him into a lava pit.
Well,
he cut off his arms and his legs
and
and let him
slid
down into a lava pit.
Which is a pretty pathetic end, if you ask me. I don't know.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Jerry.
Hey, I did not say what that was from.
We didn't identify the movie.
So if you don't understand what that's from, it's not spoiling it, right?
That's right.
So, but
That's
no,
right.
I don't know.
It left me wanting more.
Yeah,
and I think that's a good thing. I wish Jeremy had never shown up there. I wanted them to keep fighting.
Right. I wish I hadn't shown up either. I just ruined everything.
That's right.
And then all the guys I brought, are they dead?
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody but me?
Everybody but you.
Okay.
Yeah. Once again, all the main characters seem to escape. Well, except for Strausser.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm going to sound like an idiot. That was Jacob, right?
Yes. On Lost.
Okay. I just find it interesting. I'm Jeremy, and he's Jeremy in the show, and I have a brother named Jacob, and he was Jacob in Lost.
That's a little bit weird. I'm not going to lie.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, carrying on.
Okay, so I mentioned some of the new dynamics that we have between Monroe and Miles. Definitely arch enemies now. Monroe has power now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the full extent of the power. Rachel told us last week that it goes, half a mile? But honestly, I don't know if that was BS or not.
Yeah.
I don't know that we know the radius of the amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, the amplifier that Jaffe made might have been of a different spec than what she was supposedly building. So we need to see how the half-mile thing plays out. But he has power.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel knows how to get power, though. So how long before they get power? How long before our group of good guys gets power?
1/2 of an episode.
You know what? You might be right with the way that they kind of are clipping along here. I'll say 2 episodes.
You go that long?
I'll go 2 episodes in the second episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. I mean, they do have to get away from the Huey.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It was meant to be this big like cliffhanger, but we know they're going to survive.
Well, you know what would be great is that they just all died and they start out with a different character set.
Now, and we have much precedence for there being a ton of gunfire spray and our heroes just scampering away. Will all of them be able to scamper away, or will there be a victim here? Will at least one of them die, and if so, who will it be?
Man, you make me think. I think if anybody's going to bite it right now, it's either going to be Rachel or Aaron.
Yeah.
In that scene.
I disagree. I don't know who I would pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Danny was limping. I'm not sure why he was limping, if there was something that got cut or if I missed it. So I'll say Danny, but I'll say I think nobody. I think they'll all get away.
Yeah,
but if I had to pick one, I would say Danny because he's the.
If Danny dies, that would be the coolest thing that the writer could do to Charlie.
We just rescued you, and now you're dead.
Yeah, and now we're getting shot at, so we rescued you for no reason.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah.
I'd kick him and run.
I'm glad you're dead. No.
Not really. I wouldn't do that.
What movie is that from? Is that Batman? I'm glad you're dead. Anyway. Okay, what else do we have here? Tom and Julie have a new vendetta against Miles, which I mentioned. Rachel knows how to get power and amplify, which I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And what are my initials here? MR has battles with GF and PN.
Monroe, Republic, Georgia Federation.
And the Plains Nations.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was thinking people, and I'm like, whose initials are these? Yeah,
well,
and so there's that whole new dynamic thing.
I have my own meanings for all of those initials.
Oh, I see.
For video game terms, so I completely had to think about that one.
Huh. Well, you were able to translate my note.
I was. I wish you could do that for me.
Those are just. I think we could probably, think of a few other new dynamics. Between Rachel and Charlie, for example. I didn't put on the list, but there's so many new things. Really, the show literally did take a whole new direction last night, and it sets up, I think, a wonderful spring and beyond. This show continues to answer tremendous questions and reveal tremendous plot lines in their in answering those, and I think that's what's making this a great show. They're answering things and revealing that there's still depth there.
There's depth. It's keeping me interested, but I'm not having to wait 6 years to find out.
It's a spoiler alert, a cork in a cave. And I didn't identify the show. Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Run, you idiot.
Did not make quote of the week because it was just a little one little line. Yeah, it was just there was no. It was like a 3-second quote. It was like run, you idiot. It was great.
It was great. It just reminded me of Gandalf. Fly, you fools. Like, don't just stand there and look at me.
Yeah.
Like, she's looking through a hole.
Right.
She doesn't have a gun pointed at it. She doesn't know he's coming through it.
She doesn't know if someone's aiming a gun at her through the smoke.
So she's just standing there. I mean, sitting duck. Yeah. I'm going to present myself as a target.
That's right. That's right.
So I liked his reaction. She still needs to grow up.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. It was just a good funny moment.
Yeah, it was.
All right. That's all I have. A great episode. My favorite episode of the series so far. I think they're doing a fantastic job with the show. I cannot wait for March to roll around. It's going to be a long time, but man, it's just off to a great start. So that's my thing, guys. And two things I'll recommend during the break. One for you and one for your friends. One for you is go watch Fringe or Firefly. Was it Mark last week that said he had purchased all of those and was going to be watching those? I think it was because I think he's got some feedback along those lines again this week, or mentions it rather.
Okay.
So go watch those. Science Channel kicked off Fringe reruns this week. They're doing a fantastic job over at Science Channel. If not, they're available. Amazon Prime has all 4 seasons, the first 4 seasons of Fringe for free if you're an Amazon Prime member.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to catch up on Fringe. So that's your assignment. If you're looking for great shows to get involved with during the break, we recommend Fringe or Firefly. And for your friends, this is a great time to say, hey, Revolution, maybe you didn't give it a chance or maybe you gave up on it. Trust me, it has gotten better. It's fantastic. Get caught up before it comes back on March 25th. So get your friends involved and excited about it coming back in the spring. All right, you ready for Quote of the Week?
I'm ready for Quote of the Week.
need to look this back up because I don't think my percentage. There I am talking over the long, drawn-out, never-ending music again.
It's mysterious.
Let's see. Let me pull it up here. I need to redo some stuff on the website during the break. All right, yeah. So it got even worse. This was like no contest. This was like the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the
last night.
Was it the Bobcats we played last night?
I think it was.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Was it their farm team?
I don't know. We were up by 54 points at one point on them. It was really terrible. That's the kind of domination that this last week's quote had. We had the quotes, "Why don't you talk to me? I love you, Dad. Dirty little secret, and now you need me." And 83% of you guys voted for this quote right here. "Now you need me."
You need me.
I need you. No, Rachel, I don't need you. I have Dr. Jaffe. I have his pendant. And he's been a hell of a lot more cooperative than you have ever been. No, Rachel, this is over. I don't need you anymore.
Get her out of here.
Now you need me.
Bam, that's such a good quote.
It was.
And they're talking in the chat room here for those in the live
Squishy.
show about Squishy and the blood sounds. Pretty good. We got the good shot this last week, this week with Nobody's Fault But Mine, with when Miles came behind the guy and thrust the machete through all the way clean through him. That was cool.
It surprised my wife.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, yeah." So.
They wouldn't have been able to show that, I don't think, in the time slot 1 hour priir to this show. I don't
really.
I think that it's got the late time slot, so they can throw some of those things in.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but
it was pretty violent.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. All right, first quote for this week is, "We'll be like pirates. Arg."
I'm out. Did you hear we're running out of bullets?
What?
Yeah, Kipling told me. I've been shooting so many rounds for so many years. All these bandits, all these militias. We're running low. We're going to have to ration. Or start using swords. We'll be like pirates.
All right, I want to comment on two things here. I'm sorry to interject like this. Two things that scene gave us. One is an answer for why the weapons are why they had to resort to sword play. You learned about all these little militias and bandits and all these little struggles that led up to these bigger territories now that we have. I mean, it didn't just become the Monroe militia. They had to fight for their territory first, and that helped use up the stuff that got them to sword play. The second thing, and I meant to mention this earlier, David Lyons was fantastic in this episode. Yeah. I thought he was wonderful. And that scene right there was really good. The graveyard scene was fantastic as well. And then I thought when Miles basically tells me he's not family anymore, that scene was also David Lyons, great job, I thought.
He had a bang up episode. So,
yeah. All right, quote number 2. Speaking of, "You are nothing to me."
I'm sorry. It's okay. No, I mean, I'm sorry I didn't kill you the first time. You're not the same person. You're too far gone. See it now. We are not family. Not anymore. I have a family. You are nothing to me.
Good stuff. Number 3. I call this one The Wizard of Google.
That's Aaron Pittman, the Wizard of Google. You've been on the cover of Wired magazine more times than I can count. I bet you were hot. and mighty when the lights were on. I bet you'd boss around those poor bastards in their tiny cubicles. I was one of those poor bastards myself. But now, look at you, and look at me. Now you need Miles saving your fat, pock-marked ass.
Look at you. Now look at me. I'm on a horse. Come on. Didn't it go right there? I expected him to say I'm on a horse any moment.
I didn't expect it. He's not
all I
Mufasa.
could think about. Anyway, the final quote is, "You've grown up."
Charlie, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You have to just slow down and give me a minute.
I was trying to do the right thing. I was trying to kill Monroe and escape with Danny.
Where's Danny?
I don't know. I don't know if he's still alive. This whole thing is my fault.
Please stop.
I never should have left you or your father.
You need to stop. I just want to find Danny. So you are going to stop this. We're going to find a way out of here, and we're going to go get your son.
You've grown up.
It's been a long trip.
All right, so those are the 4 quotes. They're up on the website right now, so go get your vote on. And typically we leave the vote open for 1 week. Even though there's a 4-month hiatus here, it's still only going to be open for 1 week, so go get your vote on.
Yeah.
And that's over at goldenspiralmedia.com. You can just go to goldenspiralmedia.com, look for the Revolution podcast link, or just go over to goldenspiralmedia.com/revolution. And there you'll see stuff for our podcasts, our blog, which we need to get some blogs going. If you're I haven't mentioned this in a long time, but if you are interested in writing on our blog, send us an email over at the feedback at Golden Spiral Media address. We'll talk to you more about the requirements we have for writing on the blog. But you can see our blog over there. You can also see the polls, which is where the quote of the week is. Mm-hmm. And we also post videos that we get from NBC every week. And the one I mentioned earlier about Kripke and J.J. Abrams, kind of teasing and talking about the shift that's going to be happening in the finale. We've got that posted over there. And so we probably get 2 or 3 videos from them every week to post on our website. So go check that out. So I mentioned the website. You can also follow us on Twitter over at GSM Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Golden Spiral Media. Check out all the other media productions we do at Golden Spiral Media during the hiatus. Some of the podcasts that we haven't done lately should be making a comeback after Fringe takes its bow. So be on the lookout for that. So goldenspiralmedia.com. Also, if you want to send in feedback, I mentioned it, feedback@goldenspiralmedia.com. Also, call us on the Golden Spiral Media voice feedback line at 304-837-2278. All right, man. Anything else?
Well, just something I caught in the quote of the week. Little tidbit here at the end of the episode, but she made a comment that she never should have left you and your dad, or I didn't pick that up last night. So she pretty much admitted to Charlie that she made the decision to leave. I don't know if Charlie picked up on that or anything, but just wanted to point that out to our listeners.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and that's another one of those dynamics, like I mentioned, that's out there with Rachel and Charlie. There's got to be some conversation at some point where we kind of get, and that'd be a great way to do it, right? Mom, what happened? Where have you been all this time? And we kind of see that maybe relive through flashback or, I don't know, other ways maybe. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Revolution podcast. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. For those of you in the live show, we've got a great crowd in the live show tonight. I think the biggest crowd we've ever had. So thank you guys for joining us. We are going to be doing the feedback episode here in just a few minutes. If you're listening after the live show, we'll have the feedback episode up in the feed late Thursday night or early Friday morning, depending on when you check for that. So look for that later on. And until next time, don't use up all your ammo unless you know how to use a sword.
Arg.
Revolution Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Kripke Enterprises, Warner Brothers, or NBC. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. For advertising opportunities, live show, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast productions, visit goldenspiralmedia.com. Copyright 2012, Golden Spiral Media.